Ladies and gentlemen, referee Mark Honors called a stop to this contest at 2 minutes, 4 seconds of the very first round, declaring the winner by submission due to a guillotine choke and UFC heavyweight undisputed champion of the world, Johnny
You're the greatest of all time now. It's cemented. It's in history. You're the heavyweight champion of the world. Welcome back.
3 certainties in life: death, taxes, and Jon Jones as a UFC champion. Hello and welcome back to Hold On, I'm Talking Brother. My name is Joe Greenwood, and this is our review of UFC 285, which was headlined by Jon Jones versus Ciryl Gane, with a co-main event of Valentina Shevchenko versus Alexa Grasso. As per usual, I'm joined by my regular co-host, Tom Ballum. And Tom, I'm going to say it, underwhelming.
Yeah, I hate to open a review episode like that, but I didn't really get the fulfillment that I need, that I crave. That missing space deep inside me was not filled tonight. Or should I say on Saturday night. But we did see greatness, Joe.
Did we?
I think it's
from Alexa Grasso.
Well, we'll get to that, but I think first we've got to talk about Jon Jones being crowned as the heavyweight champ, defeating Ciryl Gane in the first round.
Yep. Underwhelming.
Over before you knew it. I have to be honest, the fight had been spoiled for me. Yeah, I had seen a little image of Jones and I'd picked up on the word epic, and I was like, all right, here we go. I'm going to see some shit. I don't care that I know who won. Yeah. And not what I was expecting at all. Shocking, but he said he was going to make it look easy. He certainly did that.
Yeah. Is that because of him or because Gane is so clearly flawed as a fighter? Like, we went into this preview thinking Gane must have done some work on his grappling and wrestling. He must have done something. No, he hasn't. There's a lot of questions about Ciryl Gane about this fight, and I have some questions about Jon Jones. His biggest test in this fight was the foot tape, which was a very weird incident, I must say. I gotta say it, man. I don't think we learned anything in this fight. I don't think we learned anything about Jon Jones. The only thing I really learned is that I actually think he looks quite slow, and I don't think this frame suits him.
Interesting, Joe. I think you're going to be attracting some responses from the fan base out there.
Listen, I'm sipping on that haterade, right? Okay, I'm hating on the man.
I see it. I mean, I got to be honest, Joe. Now, I'm saying this quietly because there are those in my house who, if they heard this, they would think less of me. But I was kind of happy to see Jon win.
Really?
Yeah, because, like we said, the man took a big risk going up there, or it seemed that was the case. We have to be honest. We have to come clean and say we both picked Gane to win by decision. We walked that back between each other.
We've been mugged off. Yeah, we mugged ourselves off.
We've that tape is out there, and we got it spectacularly wrong.
Yeah, but like the Tory party, our text messages can be leaked to the press to show our remorse for making that pick immediately.
Yeah, but certainly, in remorse, we were thinking more, okay, the cardio of Gane over 5 rounds, probably not going to stand up with the wrestling pressure from Jones. Neither of us were picking a first round submission, Joe. It was pretty great.
Was it?
Yeah, I really think so. I think you've got to credit Jones. I mean, he said he was going to make it look easy. We doubted that, and that's what he did. Yeah,
I mean, I kind of knew he won from the walkout. Like, when he was walking out, I'm like, oh, this guy's won the fight already. Like, this is over. There was just something about him when he was walking out where I'm like, oh yeah, he is great, isn't he? He is one of the greats. Like, there's a reason why him and GSP are the top two. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, there's no question why those two are the best.
I mean, Joe, you got a double belt world champion, a man facing a guy that we expected him to lose to, and he won definitively in 2 minutes. Look, I'll tell you what we do know after this fight is he has closed the book on Ciryl Gane. Ciryl Gane, Jones 2 is something we will never see.
No, No, that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. We know what's next for John, which is Stipe. Actually, we won't get to that yet. Let's keep talking about this fight. Let's talk about the X's and O's. Let's talk about Cyril Gane and what he achieved, which was kick Jones in the dick and then tap out. Like that. Those are the two things he did in this fight. And if that was his plan, he executed it perfectly. When it got to the ground, I was just like, he had no explosive qualities. He didn't hand fight at all. And Jones really just sort of kind of sat on him.
Hold on. For the defence, Jones, he was trying to lay him out. He was trying to stop him from getting back to the cage. He was trying to keep that leverage over his legs. And Gane knew to try to retreat.
Yeah.
Retreat and eventually, assumably, get up from a wall walk.
Yeah.
That position persisted. Jones kept that pressure on Gane's head with his neck cranked down, I'm sure that's very uncomfortable. Gane, yes, he should be well drilled in dealing with it, but still. And Jones spotted an opportunity to get his wrist underneath the neck and apply that pressure, and that was all she wrote. I don't know. In as much as Gane's going to be dying, reliving this fight, it's going to crush him. It's a spectacular loss. I think you've got to credit Jones for taking the opportunity that was in front of him.
Do you know who scouted this out?
Henry Cejudo.
That was incredible, wasn't it? That footage is incredible. Of him talking about let Gane move and then intercept from there. Because he's going to do these moves to get out. You just have to almost offer him the exit and then cut it off as he starts to go. Excellent game planning from Cejudo.
Yeah, and also not to hold on to a losing position. If the opponent moves in a certain way, just move with them. Don't waste energy trying to hold them somewhere when you're on the lower end of it. Yeah, I mean, we don't have a lot of fight to break down. We kind of summed it up. It did take 2 minutes for this to all take place.
Yeah, what do we even say at this point? I mean, Jones, this wasn't even like a roll. This wasn't like a rolling, or this wasn't even light sparring. Like Jones just walked in and won. I got to say it, man. Like I'm not that impressed. I still think GSP beating Bisping is more impressive. Bisping, hold on. You're pulling a face here. Are you saying Cyril Gane is a more complete mixed martial artist than Michael Bisping?
I'm saying nobody picked Bisping to win that fight. Are you telling me you expected Michael Bisping to go and beat GSP at middleweight?
He could have.
Joe,
he won that second round against GSP.
4 days ago, I have you on tape.
Yes.
For
yeah,
20
but hold on.
minutes explaining why Cyril Gane's going to win this fight and that Jones is lost it all.
Yeah, because I was going off a guy who's got a clear addiction problems, who's been off for 3 years, who's moving up to heavyweight. How many guys come back from 3-year layoffs and look that good?
John Jones does.
John Jones and GSP. GSP's achievement of beating Bisping is more impressive than this. I'm sorry, man, it is. I'm sorry. It just is. And you can have this debate about who's the greatest of all time. I think it is Jones, purely from the fact that he's finished a lot of these guys.
But sorry, just to clarify, this does nothing for him, for his position in the sport.
I think it just solidifies him as top two, like him and GSP. Actually, no, I take it back, because there's a lot of things with Jones where he beat guys who were either past their best, or really just weren't of the standard. Let's be honest, man. When he beat Shogun, that's not like top tier Shogun. When he beat Machida, when he beat Rashad, when he beat Belfort, I'm sorry, man, it's not.
Joe, I'm going to tell you, there'll be some listeners out there who are loving this. They're loving you drowning your sorrows. You did acknowledge to me that you had been at the shop buying beers to relieve yourself of the pain you've experienced this weekend, and it's all coming out now.
I've moved house, listeners.
I'm here for it. Clear. Jones, I think he created a moment. I think that was pretty iconic. Him walking away after submitting Gane so easily.
That's more impressive than the fight. That's more impressive than the fight. I'm sorry. I'm just not impressed by this performance. Sorry to quote GSP.
What do you want the man to do? What's he supposed to do?
Demonstrate that he actually suits heavyweight. I think he looks weird. He had a weird fat man sweat on after the fight. Like he did. I did. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. I
Let it all out, Joe. Let it all out.
And then when he beats Stipe in July, I'm not going to be impressed by that. A 40-year-old Stipe, like if that fight happened 3 years ago, yeah, I would have been impressed. You know.
Well, Jones is doing a great job setting that one up already, talking about Stipe being the heavyweight GOAT.
He is.
You know, okay.
Well, apart from Fedor. Fedor's the real heavyweight GOAT. Within UFC, Stipe is. I know you hate Stipe and you hate GSP. Like, get that out there. I know you do. Okay? The true GOAT in terms of heavyweight is Fedor. Always will be. Will never be surpassed.
Jones is setting this fight up. He's calling Stipe the GOAT, and you're right, he's going to go and beat him, Joe. And you're going to have to suck them lemons.
I just said he's going to win. I just said he's going to win. All right, this is getting really narky. I'm not enjoying this. All right, let's get into this question here, though, Tom. First, actually, can we talk about the post-fight promo? I cringed at every single word Jones said. Like, it just came across so disingenuous. My fiancé and my kids, you know, the woman I just beat up a couple months ago, you know, and my God, and aren't I great? Aren't I a nice guy? And it's just like, I know you're a horrendous human being, and like, I just can't. I'm sorry, man. Like, if this was Jones 4 years ago, I'd be like, maybe I could buy it. You know, remember when he said, I respect DC as a competitor and as a human and as a father? I was just like, wow, maybe he has turned the corner. And then he's just like, no, he hasn't. No, he hasn't. He's never going to turn the corner. He's never going to turn the corner. And because I know that, I can't buy anything he says.
You could see the fear in Dana's eyes when he heard during the post-fight press conference that Jones was throwing an after party and there was a billboard up on the avenue, Las Vegas Avenue for it. But there has been no news that's come out about that. Yeah, he's waiting to fall from heaven again. But Joe, right now he's in heaven. All right, he's rehabilitated for the majority of fans out
there. Anyway, question. I'll set the line at 2.5. How many title defenses will Jon Jones do? Over or under 2.5?
Under.
So
Stipe and out, or Stipe on one hand-picked fight. I don't.
Blades?
Nah.
He ain't fighting Blades.
Nah.
He better fight Blades.
Blades,
better fight
Pavlovich, Aspinall. None of that. Derek Lewis. Off
what
one
about this?
win.
Hold on. Let me throw it out there. Jones DC 3. Boom. Boom.
Oh Lord, that would be.
Do you think DC weighs over 300 pounds right now?
DC ain't making a heavyweight limit. So they'd have to go to Rising. They'd have to go to Japan for that kind of freak show matchup. Yeah, I mean, what I want still, Joe, is I want Jon Jones versus Francis Ngannou. That's what I want.
That's the only fight. It's the only fight. And then Dana's saying, "Oh, we'll never work with him again." Oh yeah, sure thing, mate. Sure thing. Whatever you say. If Jones says, "I want Francis," he's getting Francis. It's weird. It's like we're just ignoring all of his past nonsense, and Dana was just so happy to put that belt on him because he knows that Jones actually sells pay-per-views, unlike most of this roster. Adesanya is the only guy who consistently sells pay-per-views outside of, McGregor, etc., etc. But, what about that? Jones Adesanya at heavyweight? Are they going to do that?
That's gone. No, that's gone. You can't lose to Jan Blachowicz and still talk about that. That fight's gone. Joe, let's move on. Co-main event. Alexa Grasso. Is this something that made you happy?
I cried. I teared up.
Because Shevchenko lost? I know you're a big fan.
Bro, I don't know what it was, but I was watching this fight and I was just like, oh my God, Grasso's actually... Remember when we did the preview, what I said about Grasso? What I said about what she would have to do? And then she's landing on her, she's leading, and then ending the exchanges. I'm like, oh my God, Grasso is doing it. And then that rear naked choke, that spin kick, terrible decision by Shevchenko. And by the way, she's had a few of them in her career, so let's not pretend like she hasn't.
But before we break down the finish, let's just look a little bit about what was going on in the fight. You're telling a story like Grasso was on top throughout. Is that how you scored it? I
had it 2-1 Shevchenko going into the fourth.
Yeah, so Grasso won the first, then Shevchenko the second and third.
Yeah, absolutely. Mostly, I would give it to Shevchenko the second and third from the wrestling, the grappling. Yeah. 5.5 minutes, just under 5.5 minutes of control time. And yeah, really strong performance from Shevchenko to come back. But I didn't think that she was pulling away in any of these rounds massively. She was still, Grasso was still landing on her, particularly in that third. She had some really nice combinations on her in there. But, I think Shevchenko was edging the rounds. Just slipping ahead each round.
All right, Joe, I'm going to take the other side of that. I thought Shevchenko was comfortable. I thought she was comfortable until we get to the fourth, and we'll go into that. But, yeah, I think she narrowly lost the first. I didn't think Grasso was really connecting. I saw a lot of kind of shadow boxing, a lot of action in front of Shevchenko. I think Shevchenko was waiting, looking for her counters. And then, yeah, she was getting hit. She was getting hit here and there, taking more damage than she wanted to. And it's at that point she realised, all right, we'll do this the other way. I'll just take you down. And she was able to do that at will in the second and third round. 4 of 4 takedowns. Pretty comfortable. She had her in a crucifix at one stage. And I thought they were very comfortable rounds.
The thing is with that crucifix position, though, is that she didn't really get that much damage off from it. It was more the controlling position.
Yeah.
So, again, it was like, I just felt like Shevchenko wasn't really in the full flow. And even in like losing positions, I thought the Grasso was doing quite well. Like to move and, change the position and make sure that she wasn't taking a lot of damage. But let's talk about that finish in the fourth round. Shevchenko goes for a spin kick up against the fence, whiffs it massively.
Yeah, well, one little note on the fourth round. You could see that Shevchenko, she was fading.
Yes.
She was fading. And I think there were a couple of key moments there. One was the failed takedown. Grasso actually shook her off. It was a desperate takedown, a tired, bare, naked shot. Didn't set it up at all.
No.
But very bad sign. Then there was the Superman punch.
Yeah, that was dreadful. Was it? What was that all about?
That was a pretty desperate woman. And then, we get to the big mistake which brought about her downfall.
Do you think she was gassed?
I think she was gassing big time, and I don't know. I think she might have lost a bit of respect for the sport because a spinning kick off the cage, when your back's to the cage.
Yeah, and you're not even in line for it. It was a weird
It was
decision.
Slow execution on it as well. No explosion to it.
Yeah, and then Grasso immediately jumps into the back, gets the hooks in, and then attacks with a rear naked choke. And I've got to say, I wonder if Grasso worked on those back attacks after watching the Tyler Santos fight. Of just like, Santos couldn't get anything going in terms of getting the rear naked choke in. But Grasso gets the rear naked choke in, first off as a face crank, just over the face, and then just waited, put the pressure on so that Shevchenko really didn't have anywhere to go to let it slip in, and then hid the hand behind the head, the sort of bladed way, again, to quote that fight, the way that GSP did Bisping, of like when he put the rear naked choke in, slip the hand behind, instead of putting the palm on the back of the head, put the sort of like knuckles behind the back of the head. It's a tighter grip that way. That's how Grasso slipped in. Shevchenko taps. New flyweight champion, and my main takeaway is Erin Blanchfield will beat both of these two.
On that front, you'll get no pushback. If there is a rematch, I think Shevchenko will win that as well. I know you're going to come back to me on that one. Just a little question about the finish. Did she actually get it under the neck? I didn't, under the chin. I didn't see that. I saw it, as a neck crank. A lot of pressure applied to the chin. We saw the discoloration in Shevchenko's face after tapping, but I was kind of surprised to see a tap there.
I thought she slipped it under.
That's not what I saw, Joe.
Oh, fair enough. All right, I'm happy to be stand corrected on that. Anyway, Alexa Grasso. New flyweight champion. I guess the only fight is a rematch, really.
I've just had the great pleasure of watching it again. R.I.P. Shevchenko. It doesn't go under the chin. It was just that pressure on the neck, on the chin, and rather than actually being choked out. So I don't know. Bit strange.
Khabib McGregor.
Yeah, that was a neck crank, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's some nasty stuff. But yeah, the rematch is the only fight to make, isn't it? Like, Shevchenko's earned that 7 title defenses. And yeah, I think that's probably the only thing to do it in like 4 or 5 months.
I mean, and who are you making the favourite going into the rematch?
I'll go Grasso. Like, who am I going to pick?
You mentalist.
I'll go Grasso. I think Shevchenko looked diminished.
I agree with that, but I'm saying that it was there for her. I think she just goes out with a wrestling heavy approach, and
I don't think she can do it. I don't think she can do 5 rounds of wrestling heavy approach.
She can do 3 rounds of it and dance around the cage.
I think if Grasso commits a bit more, I think she can beat her on the feet as well. I don't know, man. Like 35 years old, and aggressive.
Some fighters, they do drop off a cliff. I don't know if that's going to happen to Shevchenko, but we will be talking about a man who has fallen off a cliff when we get to the prelims.
Oh, yes. Let's talk about this stonking fight. Jeff Neal versus Shavkat Rakhmonov. Rakhmonov, complete 100% finish rate. Can't deny the man. He was just like, I love that he just went for the finish, even at the end there, in a fight that he was winning. Rakhmonov wins by submission. Bulldog choke, standing bulldog choke against the cage. Tremendous finish from Rakhmonov. What a fight. I think we can agree. And also, Jeff Neal did highlight some of the flaws of Rakhmonov. Of his upright stance, head not moving, getting clipped. Things we talked about before the pod. And then also, I think you saw it a couple times in this fight. Kind of like just waiting up against the cage. Not really doing anything. And then when you got a guy like Jeff Neal there who can then control when he disengages what he's going to throw afterwards. Some flaws there for people to tap into. But the thing that got me was Rakhmonov, man, that chin. Yeah. And that heart. My God.
Yeah, he certainly proved he's got a chin. And he wasn't really... he didn't change his approach even after getting clipped. And boy, did he get clipped.
Yeah.
Was a moment...
Neal couldn't follow up on it, though, could he?
No, he couldn't, because Rakhmonov just kind of stayed in the fire with him. I did feel like in the third round, Rakhmonov took a slightly more sensible approach. Bit more control time, bit less standing in the pocket and trading with Jeff Neal.
Yeah. Which is probably for the best. But, yeah, I mean, Rakhmonov's the man, isn't he? Those knees up the middle were superb. I don't know. I mean... We're talking number one contender now, aren't we? Like, we're getting to this sort of level with him.
Very hard to deny. I mean, Jeff Neal was a obliging opponent. He survived for long enough for Rakhmonov to really show just how good he is. And yeah, how can you deny the man? It was a brutal war of... Well, I'll say war of attrition, but it was a blitz, a non-stop bombing campaign. And yeah, I mean, credit to Jeff Neal. I will note both fighters, they did pick up fight of the night or performance of the night. I guess fight of the night. Bonuses, night. Jeff Neal included, despite missing weight.
Yeah, big weight miss, but then you realise he has had problem with his kidneys in the past. So if you're in a struggling way, I don't know.
I mean,
or maybe he does believe that a 175 division should exist, and he's just like making it on his own back.
He's taking a stand.
Yeah.
Does Jeff Neal come out of this with his kind of profile raised a bit?
Yes, of course. Heart, beautiful hands, clearly of a standard. Maybe not the standard of a Rakhmonov, which again, no shame in that, but yeah, he's definitely gone up in my estimation, and I just want to see him in more banging fights. I'm going to suggest this for Jeff Neal for his next fight. Ian Garry.
Oh my God. I think that's a big hand dealt to Garry, who of course also picked up a win.
Fuck it, why not?
Early prelims. I just think that's very generous. I don't know if Garry has quite the profile for Jeff.
Why not?
I want to reward Jeff after that. I want to reward.
So yeah, whoop this young man and get back up there. I don't know, man. Like, I feel like with some of these guys like Ian Garry, like, why not just test him at this stage? He's obviously got phenomenal striking, and so does Jeff Neal. Despite his flaws in his striking. Excuse you, Tom. But why not? Why not give him someone like Ian Garry? There's no one else in those rankings I'm particularly excited by for him.
Jack Della Maddalena.
Oh. Yeah, all right, I'll take it back.
I thought that might tickle you.
Jack Della. What about Jack Della Maddalena versus Ian Garry? Let's go. I
think that fight will come down the line. Let Garry, let Garry fight Michel Pereira.
Why? Fair enough.
That's a ranked opponent.
All right, I'll give it to you. Rakhmonov. Colby.
I love it. I mean, Dana acknowledged that was a fun fight. He's trying to tell me that Colby's ready to fight anyone.
Is he heck?
Apparently he said yes to quite a few fights that have fallen through. I just cannot believe that. Big props to Colby if he takes this fight. It just stands against everything we've seen from him so far.
He's not beating Rachmanov. I'm telling you now. I think Rachmanov smokes him. Like, on the feet, smokes him, and I don't think Colby's wrestling's going to be good enough to stop him either.
Rachmanov, Usman, right now, who's your favourite?
Rachmanov.
Is there a man in that division apart from Chimaev that you don't think Rachmanov
Leon.
can beat?
I think that's close. I think that's a competitive fight.
Well,
I think Leon's the only guy.
Obviously, an Usman win over Leon, and that would... Well, perhaps that would bring this fight into focus. You can imagine Dana loving a matchup between Rachmanov and Edwards off a loss to Usman. I can see that. I can see that. You know how Dana feels about Leon Edwards. So
that's weird though. Why does he feel like this? The UK fans love him. Do you see, by the way, Leon calling out Rishi Sunak?
I have not seen that.
Let me just help the kids. MMA champions message for Sunak on youth spending. Basically wants more facilities to help kids get off the street and start looking after themselves. And basically bigs up martial arts as a thing to help kids who have a problem with aggression, help you learn to control yourself and learn discipline. This is the sort of thing that they should be bigging up.
Yeah,
you know.
Credit to him. Leon, obviously, a testament to that story. So, yeah.
Anyway, let's get Sunak in there with Edwards. Anyway, let's move on to Mateusz Gamrot versus Jalen Turner. Gamrot wins by split decision.
Tell me,
Tom,
who picked it, Joe?
You picked Gamrot by decision.
Who made a fool of himself, Joe?
Well, to be honest, the judges made a fool of themselves. Jalen Turner won this fight. I'm sorry, mate. I have Jalen Turner winning this.
My hand has.
How did you score this fight?
Gone to my face in a palming fashion. Joe, please explain it to me.
2-1 Turner, rounds 1 and 2.
I have to be honest, and I have to be truly honest now. I had a very, very hard time scoring pretty much every round.
Oh, it was razor thin. But if I at the end of the round, I'm thinking I've got 10 seconds to score this. Turner for those first two. That second round was so close, though. Like, why was it? Did you find it weird that they didn't show the replays of Turner dropping Gamrot? Like, he dropped him twice in that fight. One in the first round, one in the second round. You know, we score it off of damage, and I just gave Turner the edge in terms of damage. I'm presuming you gave Gamrot 2 rounds to 1. I presume rounds 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fair.
That's exactly right. And I think round 1 is in play as well. But I also think that it's possible that Jalen Turner won 30-27. So, you know, it really was that kind of fight. And you see it in the judges' scorecards as well, really split across all possibilities.
None of them gave the same, like, 2 rounds, if that makes sense. Like, it was the 30-27 and then the 29-28 for either guy. Like, none of them matched up, and it just shows what the sort of fight this was. I've got to say, both these guys come out with massive credit as well. Gamrot for taking the fight on short notice, and Turner for taking that fight on short notice as well. Like, tremendous.
Yeah, I was just going to follow up on what you were saying about the judging. Derek Cleary and David Leatherby. Leatherby's got it 10-9, 10-9, 9-10 in favour of Turner. And Derek Cleary 10-9, 10-9, 9-10 in favour of Gamrot. So really split across the board. I don't know if I agree, actually, that they both come up well here. I think we saw the limits of Gamrot's game. Yeah, I really did. And that's all right, he takes a lot of damage getting into those wrestling exchanges. He gets lit up. Any man with a decent sprawl who can withstand that is gonna cause him big problems, as we've already found out with Dariush. I think
Dariush is the only one, though. Like, that's the thing. Like, I think Dariush and Makhachev are the only ones.
Well, Sarukian, but we've seen that fight.
Sarukian. I'm talking about the guys ahead of him. Like, Poirier, no, he'll do a jump-in guillotine and then Gamrot will get out and smash him into the ground. Gaethje, absolutely not. Chandler, he's a wrestler, allegedly. And then, you know,
Poirier,
who else is there? Charles?
I think Poirier would light him up.
On the feet, yeah.
I think he would hurt him sufficiently to diminish him, especially for a 5-round fight. Gamrot was certainly he was struggling here.
They won't fight because they're both American top team.
Right.
So that's not on the cards, I don't think. Yeah, so what? So you think that Turner, in a way, still has more of a ceiling to show us? Like,
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I thought he looked great. A bit more urgency, perhaps. I mean, it's a bad. As much as he's got this, really unique frame, and he's kind of like an odd matchup for everybody in the division. You got to say, guys like Gamrot are kind of the worst matchup that he can have. I mean, if you look at other fighters there, Fiziev or RDA.
what?
Well, I'm just looking at the rankings, Joe. I'm just looking at the rankings. I mean,
Right.
I think Jalen Turner would prefer to fight Fiziev.
Oh, do you reckon?
I do. I think for like playing into his own strength. Just thinking
Well, he
about
should.
his own offense.
He should probably prefer to face Dan Hooker. Never mind Fiziev, but
Absolutely. I mean, he smokes Dan Hooker. We can agree on that.
yes, I wholeheartedly agree. I think he beats Hooker. It's the other thing I got from this. I actually feel like Gamrot, if he was a featherweight, I don't know. He was a featherweight for a long time in KSW. Became the double champ towards the end of his run there. Kind of settled into it. And the thing is, like, even in some of the... So, if he had the Kuta Taladze fight, which he lost by split decision, it was very close. He won the Sarukian fight, which was very close. He lost the Dariush fight, which was kind of close. And then he won this fight, which was...
Check.
Hold on. First round was close. And then Dariush pulled away.
Yeah, and
So
if there were two
that's-
more rounds, Dariush should win them.
Yeah, of course. But, from what we have, that's what we can judge off it. And then this fight that he won that's very close, it's just, like, he hasn't had, apart from, the Jeremy Stevens one, Carlos Diego Ferreira, he's not had that really, like, dominant win against a top guy. Do you know what I mean? And it's like, I do worry about where his standing is, but with a win like this, it kind of puts him in line with the Poiriers and Gaethjes and Fizievs of this division.
Certainly should. I mean, the man does have paper hands, though.
Yes.
So that's a shame for him. No, I mean, he's 22-2 overall now. As you say, just that split decision loss to Kutateladze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a big matchup for him next. The men ahead of him are Fiziev, Chandler, Dariush, Gaethje, Poirier, Oliveira, Makhachev.
who does he face? Do you reckon he looks down and is like, just give me one of them to beat up on?
I think he's really now at a stage in his career where he's looking for a bigger name. Obviously, most of these guys are tied up. What's the situation with Gaethje? Refresh me, Joe.
Fiziev in London in 2 weeks.
And Dariush?
Dariush has got Oliveira in May.
That's
in the co-main to Aljamain versus Cejudo.
Obviously, Chandler's booked against McGregor, so it doesn't really leave anyone for him to get out there in front of.
Poirier.
Yeah.
Poirier. Like, that would be it.
All right, make it. I don't think Poirier would take it, but make it.
Go for it. Turner, who do you want? The Dan Hooker fight, I presume.
Yeah, I think so. He's got to go down the rankings. Those are our rules, remember?
What about Renato Moicano? Yes.
Also sounds fun. I mean, you back Jalen Turner there too, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. Turner, I think, is really good. I think he's really good. I think he's got a lot to offer, and I think he's got a high ceiling.
So this is no big loss for him. Just probably a useful kind of roadblock given the state of the division right now, and just build yourself up a bit more. Yeah,
exactly.
Only 27.
Let's talk about what opens the main card. Bo Nickel defeats Jamie Pickett by arm triangle choke. Did you take pause in the middle of this? Well, at the beginning of this fight, going, he need him in the dick, right? Like, he need him. It was a low blow, right, from Bo Nickel, and then he took Jamie Pickett down, who then didn't defend anything because he'd been kneed in the testicles. Am I wrong here?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
Do you think Pickett wanted a way out and he was just like, I'll just claim that he kicked me in the balls?
I think it's convenient that he can look back on the tape and be like, because your man's getting smoked either way. We both know, Joe.
Yeah, I just didn't think we learned anything, really, did we? It was just like, because he took him down off of a low blow. It's not like he took him down, like DC against Gustafsson and sent him flying through the air. You're like, oh my God, this guy is like the real deal. Holyfield. It's like he kneed him in the balls, and then he claims, no, I didn't. And he's just like, no, you did. I saw you. You cheated. Like, you cheated and you won. Not saying it's your fault that you cheated, but you still cheated. You know what I mean? Like,
it was one of the fights that added up to being overwhelming card overall, because I no way felt
underwhelming.
Sated by it. Yeah, underwhelming. Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, Gamrot Turner, Rachmanov Neal, Grasso Shevchenko, those were good fights. I guess just the bookend fights, which was Jones and Nickel, were supposed to be the big breakout moments, and then it was just kind of a bit of a wet fart, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, actually, Gamrot Turner, we learned a lot, but it was frustrating watching Gamrot just trying to shoot his way to the end. Desperate sprawls that were just coming off and giving him the win, because he was just outmatched on the feet. But we did cover that fight already. Bo Nickel, he did what he was supposed to do. No grounds for any rematch. Jamie Pickett, good luck back at your day
PFL
job.
Or whatever. Yeah, LFA. I gotta say that, like, Nickel was getting a lot of crap for his submission attempt. Craig Jones has come out and said it wasn't that bad. What are you talking about? In that he wasn't as far away as people made it out to be. In that he could have changed it. He didn't have to slide his leg out necessarily. What he could have done is actually pressed his foot down and then had more downward pressure from that shoulder from there, and had like a double sort of choke from like both angles. So that could have been like another way of doing it, but he wasn't that far away from either.
He certainly wasn't, but the point still stands that a more experienced practitioner finishes the fight there from that position.
I mean, he did.
But I mean, sooner.
Quicker. yeah, exactly. But you know what? I was still impressed, and you know what I'm going to say? Give him Whittaker. Like, who cares? Like, get him out there. Like, what are we waiting for? What are we waiting for with these guys?
I disagree very strongly. For me, it would be. I'm even hesitating about the rankings, Joe.
I'll tell you what.
It's his third fight in the UFC.
Third fight. Let's just stop for a second. We'll finish talking about this card, and then we will book the middleweight division. Okay, how about that? We'll do a bit of booking. Okay. Now let's get to the prelims. Cody Garbrandt defeats Trevin Jones by unanimous decision. Would you say the word unanimous about that victory?
I mean, he won the fight, but we were talking about it before we came on air, because it was a pretty desperate performance in the end from Cody. Ended up shipping the third round. He was on his bike, shall we say, and still nearly lost. If it wasn't for the decision of Trevin Jones having hurt Cody to take him down with a minute left in a fight that everyone knew he was losing. Cue cries of anguish from his coaches and corner. No.
Yeah.
It was truly a bizarre performance from top to bottom from Jones, who offered no offense. He was waiting for a big left hook that was never there. And
just followed Cody round.
Followed him round. I mean, they did make the point to him. You got to kind of predict where he's going, not just go where he was. When you got to tell your fighter that mid-fight, it's always a bad sign.
Yeah,
he's not of the level of UFC bantamweight, which is an honor, a true honorary title. You know, that's it's like saying you're part of, I don't know, MI6 or some cutting edge organization if you're a UFC bantamweight. Garbrandt, he won, but you know the stats tell a lot. It was, despite how poor Trevin Jones was because of that third round from Cody, 33 total strikes to 30, 26 significant strikes to 20.
Yeah.
Now that was because Cody just wasn't throwing. That's because he just, he was much faster, much better than Trevin Jones in the first two rounds, and the accuracy is where they differentiated from one another. 83% of Cody's strikes landed. 83, Joe, versus just 38 from Trevin Jones. I was happy to see Cody get the win, but it was desperately disappointing third round.
Dricus Duplessis, I should say, retires Derek Brunson, I hope. That was, I mean, hilarious and sad in equal measure, that fight. It was all over the place. Brunson did all right in the first round, grappling Duplessis, who survived for the most part, and then in the second round, Brunson looked exhausted, just had nothing left in the tank, and as we said in our preview, looked old. I looked like an old fighter who should not have been in there.
Yeah, this was the man I was referencing when I was talking about the cliff and just how steep it can be. From just before the Cannonier fight, one fight away from the title, people legitimately saying, well, maybe he does deserve another go at Adesanya. Had been on a big run to get there. We both picked him to beat Jared Cannonier.
Yeah.
And again, won the first round there before losing in the second in similar fashion. Lost by being absolutely washed.
Yeah.
Both gassed and concussed.
We didn't really learn anything about Duplessis, did we? In this fight, like we know he's got heart. We know he's tough and can ride it out, but
I thought he was pretty poor, actually. I thought it was one of the worst showings I've seen from Duplessis. Yeah, it was really laboured striking. It wasn't his normal explosive
long combos. Yeah.
Charging forwards. There was not so much of that. He was just kind of. I thought he was a heavyweight the way he was fighting, Joe. There was some slop in there. He wants to go away, get his nose fixed. Apparently, that's part of his breathing issues.
Yeah. Soldic broke it in their rematch, and he's not got it fixed since. I think he broke it in 3 places. Yeah, that was in KSW. He broke it in 3 places.
Yeah. Well, he should go get that fixed because he's going to the top right now. Somehow he's memed his way into the biggest of fights. You beat Derek Brunson with his standing in the rankings, currently sitting at 5, Brunson, before this fight. The gate has opened and Duplessis is in the yard, Joe. He's running amok.
Yep. We'll break that down afterwards once we finish these prelims. Let's talk about Marc-Andre Barrio versus Julian Marquez. Go on.
One more note to Brunson, because it could be the last we see of him. As I say, quoting the man on Twitter, "Thanks for all who watched my career. Crazy fight tonight. My corner decided to stop it in the after the second rounds."
Yeah. All right. Yeah. All right. Let's not judge him for that.
I'm not gonna judge him. Congrats to my opponent. Yeah.
Corner did the right thing.
Corner did the right thing.
Oh, by the way, Herb Dean absolutely bottled that. He bottled that big time. Terrible refereeing yet again. And Brunson took 2 shots there at the end that he shouldn't have.
I think there was an element of, we almost made it to the bell. Of course, it shouldn't be ref like that, but I think there was a bit of that from Herb Dean that you'd already given the countdown. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Good for his corner. There's no need for Brunson to go out and get hurt anymore. He's had a great career, Brunson.
Absolutely.
And blonde Brunson, mythical fighter.
Yes. If only we saw him earlier. Anyway, Marc-Andre Barrio defeats Julian Marquez. Standing TKO. My God, Marquez took a barrage of punches at the end. I was impressed by Marquez in that first round. It's like, oh my God, this is a new Julian Marquez. And then second round, he's just like, no, I'm not. And went out there and got mushed by Barrio. Listen to these stats. Marquez, first round, 48 significant strikes. Marc-Andre Barrio, 32. Second round, Julian Marquez, 34 significant strikes. Marc-Andre Barrio in the second round, 77 significant strikes. Most of them elbows. Got to say, some of those shots, though, seem to be just hitting his hand, which was not that impressive. But, a couple more precise shots. Probably could have got Marquez out there earlier. Marquez just he looked relieved once the ref stepped in because he looked exhausted.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, watching the first round, the commentators were really praising Marquez, saying he made a lot of adjustments, saying Barrio hadn't really got started yet. Honestly, Joe, I think that was just the game plan from Barrio.
Oh, yeah.
Just let the man spunk himself out, let him shoot his wodge, and then I'll mop up afterwards.
You can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com, by the way. Exactly. Sorry, go on, Tom.
Well, yeah, it was just very, very comfortable for Barrio, who clearly had a lot in the tank. And Marquez, he's a bit of a meme fighter himself, Joe. Very limited. Very limited.
Can I just say, terrible nickname, the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's just not good. And I love Barrio's one of Power Bar, which he does live up to.
He certainly did with those stats in the second round. Wiped the board with him. Still, as you say, not the most devastating strikes, not the most accurate from Barrio. I don't know. I think there's not much higher for him to climb himself.
there's some fun fights out there for him. You know, Barrio versus Caio Barajo or someone like that. I'd watch that. RoboCop. Bo Nickel. Come on. Ian Gary with his weird wife. Pete Keenan's song in the third round by TKO. Some very slick boxing at the end, pulling away from Song. Tom, walk us through this performance from Gary, because you seem to be not quite as high on him as I am.
It was great stuff, Joe. He was absolutely styling on Song. Song wasn't a willing opponent, kind of just sat back behind his guard, not offering much. And Gary, he was going to town. He was enjoying it all the way to the bank at the end of the first round. Thought a little jab to the body. I'll mix it up with one of these, and we'll try this kick. Then we'll spin and walk straight into a little short hook around the guard from Song, who came out of his kind of rock-like stance. Dropped Gary. He was hurt. My word. Cue kind of pandemonium and shock in the very minimal crowd that was in the arena at that point. Gary, he was never out, but definitely I think if you put him in that position again and you had a different fighter, the fight would have been over. Song ultimately made the wrong choices, culminated in being in a clinch. And what do you do with a rocked opponent, Joe? You hold them against the cage and you stamp on their feet. So frustrating stuff. Gary overcame that slip up in the second and then the third round. By the end of the third, he built up his confidence again. Free-flowing state. Got some lovely clips of him floating around on Twitter. It was really beautiful, Joe. Really mixing it up.
Yeah.
And it all culminated in a finish. Song could take no more. He was just folded into the mat. Please make it stop.
Yeah.
And the ref duly obliged. Good win for Gary in the end, but a bit of a lesson.
Excellent. Should we talk about... Tom, do you want to talk about the two men's bantamweight fights on the early prelims? About Cameron Simon's win over Mana Martinez and Farid Basharat in his debut defeating Damon Blackshear. Which performance stood out for you more?
Of the two, we've got to highlight Cameron Simon. Had a good fight with Mana Martinez, which was kind of bookended by two fouls from Simon. You might remember from his debut just a couple of weeks back.
December, wasn't it?
Doctor, it's a short life, Joe. December. he was docked points for cheating in that fight, and he was docked points in this fight for it was kicks to the groin, multiple kicks to the groin, and the referee docked him a point. And then there was an eye poke in the third round as well. But he looked good, Joe. He looked good. We're talking about 146 strikes to Mana Martinez 63. I had him winning it 29-27 with the dock point. So all three rounds. I think there are some other scorecards floating around out there. Simon he's fun. He can be a UFC bantamweight. He can wear that badge with honor, and I'm excited to see where he goes.
Okay. Nothing on Farid Basharat?
Bit more of a middling performance for Basharat, but he got the job done. 2 rounds to 1.
Excellent. Now, Tom, congratulations. You won the predictions game. That's your first win of the year, so I am 2-1 up for the year. But that does not matter. You have the bet. I'm just pointing out the facts.
Joe, I warned you about Jalen Turner. I tried to tell you, and then look what you get.
Well, he won the fight. We know that. We can acknowledge that he won that fight. So congrats, Tom. Yes, and he's got a big belly. He's got a big belly, and he looked terrible. Anyway, let's move on. Let's move on. We talked about Bo Nickel. What's next?
He himself has said that he wants a slow rise. He wants to grow in stature with his opponents. He wants to grow in skill level. I personally would prefer that for him. I know you're keen to get him in there in the mix with the top 15. What about someone outside the top 15? Is there anyone out there you like the look of?
Phil Hawes?
That type of matchup sounds great. That sounds great.
What about...
it's a test as well.
do you know who actually called for it? Was I don't know why he's done this to himself, but Gerald Meerschaert's called for it. He said, I'll face him. And it's just like, Gerald, mate, you're facing a guy called Abu Sapian Magomedov. You ain't winning that fight, pal. I don't even know who that is, okay? And you're getting it. This guy's German. Oh, my word. 1-0 in the UFC. 25 wins, 4 defeats. This guy owns. Don't even know who he is. How about Albert Duraev? How about Duraev for Nickel?
Yeah, certainly not Joaquin Buckley. We want to preserve him. We want to see him down, perhaps at welterweight.
He is going down to welterweight.
It's someone in that picture outside the top 50.
Do you know who I want to know about? Who is that? Bruno Ferreira. That's what I want to talk about, Tom. After his win over RoboCop, he hasn't got anything booked yet. Nothing hinted at. That was a couple months ago now. Who are we thinking for Bruno Ferreira? I'm actually maybe Shabazian. That could be a good, fun striking matchup, perhaps.
I mean, you mentioned Shabazian. Maybe Shabazian and Bo Nickel could go at it.
Edmund, we know you can't wrestle. Get in there. Like, what are we doing there? Come on. No, give Shabazian someone like Ferreira.
I'm talking about men who've got a profile. You know, Bruno Ferreira, he doesn't have that profile. I don't think that interests Bo Nickel. He obviously is a name already, a big name. You don't make your debut on the main card of a PPV if you're not. Are you going to fight Bruno Ferreira, the man, as you say, who beat RoboCop?
No, well, I'm saying Ferreira versus Shabazian, perhaps. That's the one I'm sort of booking for. Okay, well, all right then. What about Brendan Allen, who actually somehow main evented the fight night the other week?
And looked damn good doing it. He's got to start moving up the rankings. Let's have a look at that. What have we got there? Maybe Sean Strickland? Yeah, well, Brendan Allen, after that win on the last fight night, he got up to 12. He took Muniz' spot, came into the rankings into the rankings for the first time in a little while. You say Sean Strickland. We do like to see men fight up. Does Strickland want to fight down after his last win? I don't think so.
Yeah, but he had a loss to Cannonier and then fought Imavov at 205, where Imavov weighed 195. Like, I don't know. I don't really think that counts.
Who would you? I mean, it's a good matchup. Allen and Strickland. It is a good matchup. I like it. I think Sean's got his sights on the top still of the division.
So then, who would you give to Strickland? Are you thinking someone like Whittaker?
Well, we need to know. Someone needs to check the status of a certain Paulo Costa.
Costa has actually asked for Strickland.
That's what I'm saying, Joe.
Yeah. Oh.
I want it. I like it.
Oh. Yeah. Can Costa get inside? Big hooks.
That's that. Can he cut off the cage?
Yeah. Unlikely. But then Strickland's just going to walk forward, though.
I don't know. Against Costa?
Yes.
You think so?
Yeah, he's just going to walk forward.
Back him up.
Back him up. Jabs. Sometimes the occasional 2.
Who'd you favour though?
Strickland.
Oh my god! If Costa gets walked down with jabs from Strickland, it's over for him, isn't it?
Yeah, well, this is his last fight in his contract. He just wants to fight it out and then go fight Luke Rockhold in bare knuckle, perhaps. I don't know, do something weird like that. Luke Rockhold, by the way, facing Mike Perry in bare knuckle.
I hope not. I want to get it on record. I love Paulo Costa. I love his persona. Same. I love his persona in the sport. He's
ranked number 6, man. What are we doing? Now, I'm going to suggest this one. You slightly crapped on his performance, but he's beat number 5, Derek Brunson. I think in turn that should make you number 5. Dricus du Plessis versus Robert Whittaker right now.
My God, what a step up!
Yeah,
that would
why
be
not?
Absolutely freakish if Robert lost that fight. That would turn my world upside down, Joe. I don't know if I could deal with it.
But we need to know. We can't just be like, oh, he definitely lose. We have to see it.
Who's Vettori fighting?
He's got Dolidze in London in 2 weeks' time.
I like that. I like that booking.
That could be quite a boring fight, though. I'm just
saying. It's Marvin Vettori.
You got real hard on for Vettori. He's one of your boys, isn't he? You love Marvin Vettori.
I mean, I don't think he produces interesting matchups, and he's a kind of 7 out of 10 everywhere. But I think he's I think he's a problem, Joe.
He's definitely a problem. I'll give him that. He has problems putting on his shorts, as we've seen. He's quite a funny dude, isn't he?
He is.
Right, listeners, we're going to wrap it up here. UFC 285 in the pocket, out of sight, never to be spoken of again. John Jones is the heavyweight champion. Valentina Shevchenko washed, along with Derek Brunson. And Tom is the champion again. So congrats, Tom. Listeners, you can contact us at holdonbrother69@gmail.com. Like, subscribe, spread the words, and have a merry old time. Listeners, we'll be back on Thursday to preview Petr Yan versus Merab Dvalishvili, which is going to be fought in front of a crowd in Vegas. Oh my word. Because, by the way, they changed the venue of it because the pay-per-view finale of Power Slap is happening the same night, which you can watch on something called Rumble on YouTube, which is they're going to do a pay-per-view on a YouTube channel called Rumble. That's one of those that's one of those channels that tells the truth, Tom. Do you know what I mean? You know, it tells you the truth about the COVID and all these police killings. It's not the police's fault. No, it's never the police's fault. Let's wrap it up.
Is it the people who've just been slapped in the head who want to watch that?
Well, you deserve to be slapped in the head if you pay money for that. Jesus Christ. If you pay 80 quid, by the way, for a UFC pay-per-view, you deserve to be put on Power Slap and mushed. Right. Listeners, we'll see you on Thursday. Have a good one. Good night.
It's an exciting one, guys, as Joe says. Petr Yan, Dvalishvili, and so much more. So look forward to seeing you then. Good night.
Good night.